Necromorphs are mutated corpses reshaped into horrific new forms by a recombinant extraterrestrial infection derived from a genetic code etched into and transmitted by the markers. The resulting creatures are extremely aggressive and will attack any living organism on sight. The sole purpose of all necromorphs is to acquire more corpses to convert and spread the infection. They are believed to be the heralds of humanity's ascension by certain unitologists and individuals suffering from marker dementia, but on a more practical level, they are the extremely dangerous result of the exposure of dead tissue to the marker's signal. The necromorphs are controlled via the markers by a group of entities known as the Brethren Moons, massive, highly intelligent beings created after a convergence event is initiated by a marker. The necromorph's sole drive is to create a mass of necrotic flesh that can be collected by the markers during convergence with the intention of creating another Brethren Moon, perpetuating the moon's galaxy-wide cycle of extinction. So a quick interruption, since this video is full of gore, YouTube heavily penalise any ad revenue and potential sponsors, so if you'd like to help support the channel, you can always sign up to a membership through the join button or links in the description. Now, let's get back to the video. The generation of a necromorph begins with the markers. These structures broadcast a highly concentrated electromagnetic signal that can alter dead tissue in range on a cellular level, converting it into pure necromorph tissue and reanimating the corpse of the host organism. Necromorphs are structurally held together by the marker's carrier wave and will degenerate into an organic soup should the marker be destroyed. The signal also affects the minds of intelligent life forms, usually manifesting in them as dementia, resulting in homicidal, aggressive actions, essentially setting the stage for the coming necromorph infection. Additionally, the marker's pulse can imprint a self-replicating signal containing blueprints in the minds of suitable individuals, thus leading them to create red markers and spread the contagion. The infection is also spread directly through the necromorph pathogen, that is, the reanimated cells created by the markers and which compose the necromorphs. Typically, the infection is passed on to new host bodies via specialized necromorphs such as infectors or swarm infectors. As the necromorph pathogen infects only necrotic tissue, living victims who come into contact with it typically do not undergo transformation unless it is inserted directly into their bodies, in which case they will undergo a gradual transformation as they slowly die. This can be seen in the case of Brant Harris, who transformed into a necromorph capable of regenerating severed limbs in a matter of seconds, and in the case of SCAF soldiers who ingested necromorph tissue, causing them to turn into a unique Wendigo-like form of necromorph known as the feeder. Once the host is fed, the recombinant properties of the infection take hold. The process is extraordinarily rapid and predictably violent. Cellular functions go into self-destructive overdrive, creating new biologically active compounds, which are then metabolized by reanimated flesh to fuel further mutations. Bones are broken, put together in new configurations, or reshaped into entirely new forms. The transformation can take place in a matter of seconds, and the process generates tremendous amounts of heat. More often than not, the violently spasming corpses become so hot that stagnant blood begins to boil in the veins and arteries, rupturing the skin. Formerly vital organs, such as parts of the digestive system that are no longer needed, are broken down and turned into additional musculature, giving all necromorphs increased physical strength. While slashers are overall the most common type of necromorph, the creature created during infection largely depends on location and circumstance. For example, lurkers are usually created from the infant-like organ banks used for medical transplants, human-born infants, or, in other cases, dogs, while guardians are created from corpses that have been affixed to the corruption. However, some necromorphs are clearly composed of more than one human, brutes or tripods for example, which is an indication that some form of intelligence is at work allocating biomass for specific use. All necromorphs are extremely hardy and capable of surviving in lethal environments, such as the vacuum of space. This implies a total lack of respiration or reliance upon vascular activity, which explains the Necromorphs' resistance to wounds that would cause massive blood loss due to hemorrhaging in humans. The most effective way to defeat the majority of Necromorph forms is through dismemberment. By cutting off a Necromorph's means of mobility, the creature will collapse and be seemingly rendered inert. Although, even in this state, the marker signal will continue to permeate their body, making minute changes to their structure and causing their cells to continue living. Many Necromorphs also feature yellow luminescent tumor-like growths or pustules filled with bile. These sacs often explode violently when ruptured. Nexus organisms, also known as hive minds, serve as conduits for the marker's control signal and as Necromorph ground commanders. Necromorphs are highly aggressive. They will attack any living being on sight, regardless of species, for the sole purpose of creating corpses and spreading the infection as quickly as possible. In order to more effectively hunt their prey, Necromorphs share a form of collective intelligence that allows them to act in a coordinated manner. This shared consciousness originates from Nexus Necromorphs, or hive minds, large creatures that are able to receive the marker's control signals and broadcast orders to the smaller Necromorphs. While the markers create the Necromorphs by recombining dead flesh through their signal, they do not directly guide the creatures beyond sending out general commands to the Nexus forms, with the Necromorphs behaving as little more than animals with an insatiable drive to hunt and gather biomass. As such, the creatures will attack all living beings, even individuals who are under the influence of the marker, or otherwise trying to further the marker's goal. To protect living beings who are useful to its plans, such as those who are better suited to become architects and build more markers, the marker signal creates a dead space around the artifact that keeps most Necromorph forms from approaching it. Think of it as like the eye of the storm. This allows the marker to draw useful individuals to its base, where they will be protected from the creatures while their proximity to the marker ensures that it can easily infect their minds and bend them to its will. The Brethren Moons are highly intelligent, moon-sized necrotic lifeforms that are believed to be the source of the marker signal. The Necromorph's control signal can be traced from the hive minds to the markers, and ultimately to the Brethren Moons, highly intelligent cosmic entities that are formed following a convergence event and are capable of creating Necromorphs and manipulating living beings from incredible distances via the marker signal. The Brethren Moons are linked to one another through a telepathic network spanning the stars, which they use to communicate as the marker's influence affects other sentient species, leading them to build more markers, cause Necromorph outbreaks, and continue to expand the network through a subsequent convergence event. Despite being viewed as merely deranged killing machines, Necromorphs sometimes display tactical planning and cooperative behaviour. They commonly hunt in small packs of mixed individuals with semi-specific roles, and use stealth, ambush, or group tactics to outsmart their victims. This requires a degree of strategic thinking and points to a certain amount of individual intelligence and communication. Examples of this include using ventilation shafts to sneak up on prey, playing dead, not attacking until the victim is well within striking range or their back is turned, or using a lure to draw known threats into an ambush. Necromorphs not currently engaging a non-Necromorph target have been observed as performing several different behaviours. Many will wander aimlessly, almost passively, with no real destination, until they are aware of a new victim to kill that they will immediately engage. Some will drag bodies to a different location, possibly to make it easier for an infector to find. Some will hide themselves inside ventilation shafts, setting up new or resetting previous ambush sites. Some will simply stand in place, waiting for a new victim to come to them. When a target is present, but out of range, they will often watch the victim and attempt to intimidate them with loud growls and threatening poses. Feeders are also observed to do what appears to be eating when no living beings are nearby. Of the Necromorph foot soldier forms, stalkers appear to have the strongest sense of pack cohesion and individual intelligence demonstrated, as they will often peek around corners to lure victims, while another will charge from a different direction. They are also the only known Necromorphs to directly communicate with one another, as the noises they make seem to hold some significance. For example, the stalkers will make a noise while, or just after Isaac Clarke has moved his location, alerting the other stalkers. Fodders can fool their prey by retaining their host's clothing and tools before revealing their monstrous form. These fodders are also seen still carrying the melee weapons previously used by their hosts, showing that they either have a very slight form of intelligence or, quite simply, their hunting behaviour may be actualised based on rudimentary context clues from their surroundings and environment. Another example of necromorphs using contextual adaptation as a form of intelligence are the creeper and shambler. When the creepers take over the corpse of an SCAF or circle soldier, they will wield and shoot the corpse's weapon, albeit in a rudimentary and clumsy manner with extremely poor accuracy, indicating a low level of fine motor control. In Dead Space 3, it can be seen that when necromorphs are left idle for years at a time, they curl up in a hanging patch of the corruption to conserve their energy and wait for unsuspecting prey. This results in the necromorphs becoming mummified and fungus-like in the process if left in this state. An example of this is seen when Isaac Clarke and John Carver enter the dilapidated CMS Roanoke, a 200-year-old ship in orbit over Tau Volantis. Thanks for sticking around to the end, and I hope you enjoyed this video on Dead Space's lore. Shout out to my subs, and if you'd like to help the channel grow, you can click the join button or sign up to my Patreon.